The big guy.
Here we go.
Wait, that's not that big.
It's not that big. Yeah, I mean, I kind of in my description I wrote about that. It's a little bit. It's roughly. So before we jump in, this is the Sigma 100 to 400, f5 to 6.3 DGDN OS. I'm reviewing the E-mount version of this lens, but it's also available for L-mount. So
before you go on, just to let people know, DGDN means that it's for mirrorless. Go right ahead.
Yeah, so actually, this is, I think, one of the first super teles from Sigma that's only for mirrorless. It's also available for L-mount. So if you're shooting with Panasonic or Leica, or if you're the two people that's shooting with the Sigma FP, you can use this lens. Yeah. Listen, if I feel bad for your wrist if you're mounting the L mount version of this lens onto a Sigma FP. So if you're one of those people, you're gonna want to get the optional tripod collar, which is not included with this lens.
What?
Yeah, the tripod collar is not included, so I actually have to ask them to send that to me.
Hold on, how much is the lens?
So here's one of the most attractive things about the lens, right? It's under $1,000. It's $949, I believe, retail, which for a 100 to 400, that's a very competitive price. So right now, so obviously, since I'm reviewing the E-mount version, I'm kind of going to compare it to what you have for Sony. So when it comes to super telephotos that are semi-affordable, you really are only talking about the 100 to 400 G Master, and then the 200 to 600. This is not that dissimilar in size with the 100 to 400. It's slightly smaller, but the 200 to 600 compared to this, it completely dwarfs this lens. Chris, you'll remember when we went out to photograph birds early. It felt like I was walking around with a Canon in my hand, a Canon with two ends. But yeah, so it's got the same build quality that we've come to expect from Sigma's other lenses. Luckily, unlike some lenses that we've talked about in the past, it comes with the lens hood.
So wait. So build quality. So it's a contemporary, meaning that it's weather sealed, except at the front elements. You need a UV filter, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I'd have to double check the diagram, but yeah, I think so. But you can see the lens hood, it's pretty deep. So unless you're aiming up at the rain, you should be okay. Which you may end up doing sometimes if you're photographing birds. So you have a bunch of controls. I'm gonna bring this closer. Is it focusing? Kind of. You guys can see that, right?
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah. So you've got a bunch of controls there. You could, there's a dedicated autofocus to menu focus switch, and then you've also got a focusing zone switch. So you could do full, you could do 6 meter to infinity, or just shorter than that. You got an autofocus lock, and you've got the optical stabilization switch. So you could turn it off completely if you're using this for long exposures, for example. Or there's setting 1 and setting 2. That's basically how much you're waving the lens around. If you're shooting something that's super fast moving, you may want to toggle it to setting 2. But yeah, so far I'm liking this lens, but it's pretty light hungry, and with the weather we've been having in New York, it hasn't been the best. We've had clouds and a lot of sporadic rainfall. So if you're out shooting birds, for example, you're gonna want to pair it with a camera that has pretty good low light performance, because you're talking about realistically, if you're shooting wildlife with this, you're starting at f6.3, and you're also shooting fast moving birds, so your shutter speed's pretty fast. So consequently, you're gonna have to ramp up your ISO. Depending on the camera you're shooting with, the results may be less than optimal unless you have really good light. And I've definitely found that somewhat. I've been testing it with the A7R4. It's like D-resolution king, but high ISO sometimes it's not the best compared to like the A7 III or the A9, A9 II. And I'm actually kind of curious to see how this will pair next to like the A9. The AF's been pretty good so far. It's fairly accurate and precise. So no complaints, provided that you have good light. If you're shooting in lower contrast situations, you really want to take advantage of the focus distance switch, because sometimes that extra little second or two that it's hunting for like a bird or something, that could mean a difference of you getting the shot or not. So I've sent Chris a bunch of example images that we could take a look at real quick.
All right, let me bring those up right now. Share. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
All right. What are those?
I believe one of those is an eagle. It's like a little nest that was like way out in the marsh.
Gotcha.
Those ducks.
Swans.
Yep.
That's a cool shot. It'll make.
Yeah,
nice
I waited maybe like 5 minutes or so for the two of them to like they were like eating, so I was like timing it just so both their heads were up.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah. Now, granted, some of these are cropped in, and that's one of the issues with this lens. If you're shooting wildlife, especially birds, sometimes 400 still feels not enough. If you shot with like a 200 to 600, you're really going to miss that extra 200 millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, since I was shooting with the A7R4, it gave me the ability, they gave me the resolution to crop in a bit.
I think that's a really good point about the higher megapixel cameras that lets
yeah,
you do
so
that.
you kind of have to weigh your options, right? If you've got good light, great. But if the light's less than optimal, then you're gonna have to ramp up your ISO. That's when even if you nail focus on the on the bird, it might be it might be too noisy for the image to be usable.
I mean, I'm seeing the noise right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So versus if I was shooting with a A9, obviously my AF will be better, and also the high ISO performance will be better, but I lose the ability to crop in.
Yeah.
So it's always like a balancing act where you gotta weigh your options.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I earned myself about 50 or so mosquito bites just testing this thing.
It seems pretty sharp, but then again, I mean, like, this is 6.3 all the way out,
Yeah, some of these I think I might have even stopped down to f8 when the light allowed for it. The lighting was changing, so it had just finished storming when I got to the area where all these were shot.
These two look like they're about to have, like, the biggest fight ever.
Yeah, that was like a little bit of like a spy versus spy situation going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same two birds from a different angle.
And people say New York doesn't have wildlife.
You just gotta know where to look.
Yeah, that's what I tell people.
Yeah. And also bring a lot of bug spray.
Yep.
There's a lot of detail in that shot.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm
Yeah,
like, look at that beam.
I think this one might have been like ISO 2000 or 3200 also, because like a huge cloud came through around this time. Someone just commented on the ISO. Oh yeah, yeah. If you have an A9, this is a pretty good lens to have around that $1,000.
I was gonna say an A7 III.
Or that, yeah.
I like those bokeh.
Yeah. Now, one thing I did notice is the tracking AF does not work when you have it on Animal AF mode. So I'm not sure if that's on Sony or on Sigma's end. I have to reach out to Sony to just clarify that.
I'm
But
wondering
on
because
human,
I mean,
on human AF it worked fine, and all of these were shot on human AF anyways because Animal AF doesn't really work on birds.
see, this is an interesting one because in my experience, Sigma will blame Sony and Sony will blame Sigma.
Well, of course, and you can never really tell because Sony doesn't really share the AF algorithms with.
They
with
do.
these.
They do because Sigma is certified with Sony.
Yeah, but I think like first party still feels faster, but part of that could be because of the wider aperture.
Yeah, but Tamron also feels faster.
Sometimes the when we were comparing the 70 to 200 and the 70 to 180, the Sony definitely felt faster.
Those are all the photos, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So this last bit was just me tracking the bird, and you can see like it kept track of that one bird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The whole way through.
Yeah, they all look pretty sharp too.
I feel like this is a great lens for like going out into your garden and capturing like a hummingbird or like a butterfly or a bee or something like that.
If you've got enough light, yes. I obviously have to do a lot more testing with this lens. I've only had it for a few days, and so far, like low light is a little iffy. Low light performance is a bit slow from what I've seen, but we'll have to test it more. So just stay tuned for our full review for that. But yeah, for $1,000, you can't go wrong because the Sony G Master is $2,500. So it's more than twice the price.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you also have to ask yourself if you need the extra stop of light. And here's an interesting note, by the way, for anyone that is shooting with L-mount cameras. Sigma actually makes a 1.4 and a 2 times teleconverter for this lens, but that's only available for L-mount. They do not have the teleconverters for E-mount. So obviously that means that you can multiply the focal range by 1.4 or 2 times at the expense of the equivalent stops of light.
I would really, and I know that we can't safely do this right now, and we've done. I've worked on this piece about how COVID-19 is really affecting our testing, but I feel like a lot of people, if we weren't going through COVID right now, would use this lens to photograph indoor sports like college.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
High school.
That's exactly how I felt. I think, going back to how I said that, you may miss that extra 200 millimeters if you're photographing birds, but for indoors, it might be perfect. Especially if you have a camera that has great, low ISO performance. 100 to 400 for indoors.
High ISO performance.
So sorry, yeah, yeah. Having a 100 to 400 indoors, that's probably all you're really gonna need, unless you have something really close, in which you swap to a second camera with a 24-70. So yeah, I wish there was some way that we could test it, like maybe like a hockey game or soccer game or something, but that's just not in the cards at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least you're being safe and you're socially distancing and you're photographing with a mask and all that stuff. So.
Yep. And anytime someone comes near me, I just move downstream. I don't want to be anywhere near these people. Yeah, like when I was out shooting, sometimes I would run into people like trying to fish or something, and they're just hanging around like no mask on. I'm like, no thanks, I don't want to talk to you. Just stay exactly where you are. Don't come near me.
Hey, do us a favor. Hold up the lens to the camera and zoom all the way in. How much does it expand out?
Oh, probably easier if I show it to you guys sideways. So I'm gonna take the hood off.
Yeah.
All right. So that much. Yeah,
It's almost the full. It's almost the full length of the body.
Yeah, like 3/4 at least.
Yeah, but you put the hood on, and it basically becomes the whole length.
You put the hood on. Yeah, this thing is massive.
Jesus Christ.
Here's my arm.
How much that thing weigh, Paul?
Uh, I don't have the official figures on me, but I'm hand holding it right now with the grip on my Ace R4, and it feels pretty balanced.
Hmm.
What if you take
It's
the
not
grip
that
off?
heavy. Sorry?
What if you take the grip off?
That's a good question. Let me try that right now. Oh, another point I have to point out is
Thank you for seeing 2.5 pounds.
oh, awesome. Yeah. It's not that heavy. Okay, yeah, it definitely feels a little front heavy now that I took the grip off. Here's another thing too. If I remember correctly, the Sony first party zooms, you turn to the right, you turn clockwise basically to zoom out. With the Sigma, you turn counterclockwise to zoom in. So that's something that has I've noticed myself, like I've been trying to like turn it clockwise, and like, oh, why am I zooming out? It kind of harkens back to what we were talking about last week, like just annoyances that we
Mhm.
find with camera manufacturers and lens manufacturers. Like, I mean, they put a lock here, so if you're walking around, it's not that heavy, but if you're swinging the lens around, it will like extend itself. Like if I'm just going like this, you can see I already swung it out from
Yeah.
the inner tube.
So wait. Then that's a good point. Is there lens creep at all?
Not that I've seen so far, but again, I've been shooting it like I've been shooting birds, so I'm like moving pretty fast. I'd have to do some stationary tests to see if there's any creep at all.
And is there a lock on
There
the
is
actual...
that's what I just mentioned. There is a
Okay.
lock for when you're storing it. So like if you're walking around, but like if you're out shooting, you're not going to engage it because unless you're going to shoot at 100 the whole time. Chances are if you're shooting with 100 to 400, for the most part, you're probably going to keep it at 400 most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Or at 100.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely need to do more tests with this, but so far, pretty positive experience with the lens. Yeah. It's a wood buy for me.
All right. Cool. Well, I know you're working on your review. We'll schedule that up whenever it's done. And doesn't seem like we have any other questions. Let me check Facebook though. Let's see if there are any questions on our Facebook page.
Yeah, the Tropical. Oh, yeah, the Tropical I believe is $150.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, so that makes it a $1,100 lens. Not sure why they decided not to include that. Probably for cost saving, but like sell it for $1,000, and just call it a wash. Like it does not cost you more than $50 to make a tripod collar.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah, I mean, I would have honestly preferred if they charge us like $9.99 for this and include the collar and give me the option to take it off if I never use it.
I think it'd also be cool if when they're selling it, they give you an option of like including those Sigma UV filters to fully weather seal the thing as well too.
Yeah, it could be too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any other questions?
No. I mean, I was gonna end this segment. Let's do that right here. But there was a question because someone is catching up on the Facebook feed. Someone was saying about Fujifilm they need to go real medium format, and real medium format would mean like 645 or like 6.7 or something like that. But the biggest digital is 645. Yeah, I think everyone needs to go real 645 personally, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Well, you need someone to make that sensor first.
I mean, that sensor is around. Hasselblad and Phase both have real 645.
Right. No, but for Fuji,
Yeah, no.
they're gonna need to basically redo their design.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you for. Wait, there's another comment. Camp Goobers. Oh, don't worry about it. Thank you all for tuning in. We really appreciate you, and this was a fun show. Paul, thanks. Brett, thanks, and we will see you guys next week. Yeah,
Thanks,
take
everyone.
care, folks.
Thanks, everyone.